outside the magistrate's court where justice is dispensed. We've just seen all charges dropped against Nick Cornu. What did you make of that?
I mean, I've not followed the case very much in depth, but what was remarkable, and so much so that the magistrate commented on it in his summing up, was that the prosecution basically came in and said, we're not going to offer any evidence, we're dropping charges, but then still said, but we think he's a criminal and we think what he did was criminal. And it's frankly bizarre. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
I mean, he was more interested in exonerating the advocates who acted for the other side. He was more Advocate Milner, who made the original complaint. The prosecution was more interested in saying, well, there's nothing wrong with her. I mean, it was really quite disgraceful. And there's nothing you can do. You're a states member. What can you do to ask about this sort of procedure? They wanted to punish him with costs. They wanted to punish him with costs. What a disgraceful decision. But they didn't. I mean, the magistrate struck it all down. He said, the magistrate was quite
it's very bizarre. I think what happened is the prosecutor was chancing his arm. He admitted that it's unprecedented, or certainly very unusual, to not have costs awarded if you've been exonerated. I think he was just trying it on, and I think he got dressed down essentially by the magistrate. I was half expecting him to be cut short when he was making these egregious remarks, actually, because it's so very bizarre. On a wider note, I mean, I think the courts need to be opened up. I mean, I'm a big advocate for filming to be allowed in court. So, we have web streaming in the States Assembly. There will obviously be situations where you can't do that for sensitive cases, etc. And transcripts need to be made available free of charge, like Hansard, so that these can be published. It seems that once we have parity in the transparency of the courts with what we'd expect from the States Assembly, I think that will go a long way to perhaps improving the delivery of justice.
It was good to see you here, but you're the only states member who is here. People generally aren't interested in what goes on, are they?
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't normally come to courts unless I'm asked to, or unless it's an area of interest. Right. Because we've all got busy lives, so. But I think it's interesting to attend courts every now and again. Just
Does that happen? Is that a regular occurrence? Is that what the Crown Department or Crown officers are saying in court? Oh, this guy's innocent, but we still think he's guilty. Is that a regular occurrence?
Well, I don't know. I don't go to court a lot, but all I would say is that I think everyone listening found that very strange.
I think they were appalled.
And the defence advocate, of course, picked it up very quickly, and I think called it churlish was the word that he used.
That's right, churlish. Well, I mean, they've had this hanging over them. Nick and his wife have had this hanging over them for a very long time. They've suffered a huge amount. How much is it a political trial? I mean, that's obviously in the background, isn't it? Nick's a political character.
I'm not going to comment on. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but people can look at the timing and say that this has been dropped. What are we now in July? It could have been dropped in April if they were going to offer no evidence. So from what I've seen, I think it's more so it's been vindictive, and I don't know who's been leading that vindictive campaign, whether it was the company or
Do
not.
we know who the fall guy was that they put up for the Crown officers? I think he's a guy called Sam Brown, isn't he? I don't know if that was Sam Brown.
I don't. I'm really just an observer. I don't know the detail of it. But it is interesting to go to the courts and watch what goes on.
I think more states members should attend the courts. I mean, I go in there when I can. I see some extraordinary things going on in these courts.
I think there's a reason they don't, and I think it's psychological, is that we accept that there's a separation between the court and the states, even though it doesn't work the other way around necessarily. So the judiciary take a great interest in what happens in the States Assembly, to the point where they often sit there, some of them. But I think we feel that we'll just leave that to them. The administration of justice it's important that we do remain separate, but it doesn't mean you can't go along and observe, and when you need to, ask questions if you've got concerns.
There's a lot of people that will come to you, no doubt, and other states members. They come to you for advice because they've got a legal problem. This is half the problem. Lots and lots of people just simply cannot get proper legal representation, can they?
It's very difficult, and of course we can't offer legal advice. We can offer general advice, and I guess people, and the citizens' advice can only do so much. They can really just recount the state of the law. So you're often told, oh, you need to seek legal advice for these issues. but it can be very costly, and you don't know how much it's going to cost until you've gone down that route often.
I mean, I just want to keep you, got things to do, but yesterday we saw the BBC having to eat humble pie, but they're still not eating it because of the case of Cliff Richard. He's had years of humiliation. Now all the charges against him have been dropped, similar sort of situation to this. I don't know what apologies have been offered in that case, certainly no apology for the annoyance that has been caused to Nick and his wife. On this case, certainly the system here wasn't at all apologetic, was it? But in the more famous case, the one that the national media are focusing on, I mean, there's all sorts of implications about what's going on there. This is the legal system, how it works, isn't it?
What was interesting in this case, and there will be other cases, is that it's only the legal costs that have been awarded, of course. So the innocent party, whoever that is in a general case, is no better off. I mean, they're just having their legal fees cost. The inconvenience and the damages haven't been awarded. So you've got that whole,
and he still tried to,
potential loss of earnings, of course.
He still tried to make people think he's guilty. He's not guilty. He's an innocent man. His wife's an innocent woman. This ought to be headline news.
Well, it was addressed, wasn't it, by the magistrate? He said, in Jersey, you're innocent until proven guilty. You haven't been proven guilty, therefore you're innocent. And it's completely outrageous that somebody would maintain, we're not going to provide any evidence, but we still think you're a criminal.
And the Attorney General's office is complaining that they're not getting enough prosecutions. Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are they bringing malicious prosecutions in lots of cases? This is what they're doing. I mean, who will ask these questions? We can't. Who can ask these questions? Where's the forum to ask? What's the Crown Officers up to? What are they up to?
Yeah.
Who can ask?
I think that's beyond my remit at the moment. I don't have the knowledge of those areas, but I guess you want to know that justice is administered, and that means that there's two types of miscarriage of justice. It's when innocent people get found guilty, and it's when guilty people don't get brought to task. So, and I guess you want to always err to the side of caution. There are lots of people who commit offences who are never brought to justice, of course. But,
especially in the finance world, but that's not so important. So it seems. I mean, this case has cost the general public many thousands of pounds. It'll come out of revenue, which the public have had to contribute at some point in the proceedings. I mean, you'd thought the old Jersey traditional view of not wanting to waste money. This is a total waste of money, isn't it?
I mean, it's an expensive. The administration of justice is expensive anyway. I think that's an issue. And that's why it's key to get the right results and not start on a course of action if it's unlikely to be successful. And I think that's probably all I can say in this case. Is questions will be raised as to why this was.
I hope you will be able to ask some questions, to file some questions in the States. I hope that's the only forum we have really to raise these questions. I hope you can. I hope your colleagues in the States will say yes, these are matters that need looking at.
Okay, thanks for the interview.
Okay.